Washington has been thrust into a state of political shock after an extraordinary rupture inside Congress triggered one of the most serious moments of presidential pressure in modern American history. In a move rarely seen in the United States, a bipartisan coalition of lawmakers has publicly demanded that Donald Trump step aside, citing concerns that extend far beyond routine political disagreement. According to multiple senior congressional sources, the crisis erupted following the emergence of a classified internal document that allegedly raises alarms about presidential involvement in the timing and approval of sensitive military actions. The revelations have ignited urgent debate across Capitol Hill, shaking confidence in the stability of executive decision-making and raising profound questions about the boundaries between political strategy and national defense. What makes this episode particularly striking is not simply the accusation itself, but the breadth of political alignment behind it. Members from both major parties, including prominent Republicans, have joined together in calling for accountability. Such unity against a sitting or former president is exceedingly rare and historically associated with moments when institutional trust is under severe strain. An unusual alliance forms behind closed doors. According to individuals briefed on the situation, lawmakers were first alerted after classified material was circulated among several congressional oversight committees. The document, described by those who reviewed it as highly sensitive, allegedly outlines instances where military authorizations were delayed during active security operations. While the full contents remain classified, sources familiar with the material say the concerns were serious enough to trigger emergency consultations among senior members of Congress. These discussions reportedly took place in secure facilities, with lawmakers from Defense, Intelligence, and Foreign Affairs committees present. Several lawmakers who participated in the review emphasized that the issue at hand was not policy disagreement or ideological conflict. Instead, they described the matter as a potential breach of long-standing principles governing civilian oversight of the armed forces, principles designed to keep military decision-making insulated from partisan influence. Why this moment is different. Political analysts note that Washington has seen no shortage of scandals and confrontations over the years. However, moments when lawmakers from both parties openly question a president's conduct in matters of national defense stand apart. National security has traditionally been treated as a domain requiring restraint, unity, and careful adherence to institutional norms. When allegations suggest that operational military decisions may have been influenced by political considerations, congressional reaction tends to escalate quickly. In this case, several Republican lawmakers reportedly concluded that remaining silent was no longer tenable. Their decision to break ranks publicly has fundamentally altered the political landscape surrounding the controversy. The letter that changed the calculus. Following hours of deliberation, the bipartisan group agreed to draft a formal letter calling for Trump's resignation. The document, later released publicly, employs unusually direct language, arguing that the conduct described in the classified material conflicts with the constitutional responsibilities of the presidency. The letter does not declare guilt. Instead, it asserts that the seriousness of the allegations alone warrants immediate accountability and further investigation. It stresses that decisions affecting military readiness and troop safety must never be entangled with political objectives. Observers were particularly struck by the fact that the letter was delivered publicly by a senior Republican lawmaker who had previously defended Trump during past controversies. According to reporters present, the moment was somber and emotional, underscoring the gravity of the situation. A rare break. Within the president's own party. When lawmakers from a president's own party openly challenge his conduct, it often signals that internal support is eroding. Analysts point out that accusations of partisan motivation lose force when senior figures from across the aisle express shared concern. This dynamic has historical precedent. During the Watergate era, Pressure on President Richard Nixon intensified only after Republican leaders privately acknowledged that the evidence had become untenable. Once internal party resistance collapsed, the political outcome shifted rapidly. While each situation is unique, the current episode has revived comparisons to those moments when bipartisan concern accelerated accountability processes. Allegations that strike at the core of civil-military relations. According to individuals familiar with the classified document, the allegations focus on delays involving multiple military actions described as time-sensitive. These operations reportedly involved intelligence collection and force protection in volatile regions. Experts note that such authorizations typically follow established command procedures to minimize risk and avoid political interference. Any deviation from those norms, especially during active operations, raises immediate red flags. What has drawn particular scrutiny is the suggestion that the delays were not based on operational assessments, but on political considerations. If substantiated, analysts argue this would represent a serious violation of principles that separate military leadership from partisan politics. Why lawmakers say this goes beyond politics? Members of Congress reviewing the material have emphasized that the issue is not about ideology, elections, or partisan rivalry. Instead, they frame the concern as one of institutional integrity and national security. Several lawmakers stated that military personnel must be able to trust that decisions affecting their safety are made solely in the national interest. Even the perception that political leverage could influence operational timing, they argue, risks undermining morale and confidence within the armed forces. Former military officials have echoed those concerns, warning that civil-military trust depends on restraint, transparency, and adherence to established processes. The White House pushes back. Trump and his allies have strongly denied any wrongdoing. They argue that the president's authority over military matters is constitutionally grounded, and that the allegations are being misrepresented or exaggerated. Supporters have focused heavily on the leak itself, questioning how classified material reached lawmakers, and suggesting that the controversy is being fueled by political adversaries. However, legal analysts caution that focusing exclusively on the leak does little to address the substance of the allegations. When multiple oversight committees independently review classified material and reach similar conclusions, dismissing the concerns becomes more difficult. A party under pressure. Inside Republican circles, the situation has created significant tension. Some lawmakers face intense pressure from loyal supporters who view criticism of Trump as politically motivated. Others are grappling with the implications of defending conduct that senior committee leaders describe as potentially compromising military readiness. Analysts say this internal divide presents a profound challenge. Explaining such allegations to service members and military families, they note, carries both political and ethical weight. There is little middle ground. Either the document accurately reflects events, which many experts describe as indefensible, or it is fundamentally false, which would require accepting that multiple senior lawmakers misrepresented what they reviewed in secure settings. Legal experts weigh. Constitutional scholars have described the unfolding situation as a slow-moving institutional crisis rather than a sudden rupture. While the president holds broad authority as commander-in-chief, that power is intended to be exercised exclusively in the national interest. Former federal prosecutors note that intentionally delaying military decisions for non-operational reasons could carry significant legal and institutional consequences if proven. Even absent criminal charges, analysts emphasize that the political implications alone could be substantial, particularly if additional lawmakers join the call for accountability. Why national security changes the equation. History shows that alleged abuses involving national security tend to erode party loyalty more rapidly than other forms of misconduct. Issues affecting troop safety and military readiness are treated differently because they strike at the core responsibilities of the presidency. Past controversies involving personal behavior or political strategy rarely produced bipartisan resignation demands. When defense operations are implicated, however, the stakes shift dramatically. That distinction is central to why this episode has drawn such intense attention. What happens next? Congressional leaders are now weighing their options. Potential next steps include formal investigations, oversight hearings, and subpoenas. Some lawmakers have indicated that additional classified reviews are underway. Meanwhile, the political fallout continues to ripple outward. Candidates in upcoming elections are being pressed to clarify their positions, and national security has moved to the forefront of public debate. Observers warn that the outcome will likely shape not only Trump's political future, but also long-term expectations about executive authority and civil-military relations. A defining moment for American governance. At its core, this controversy raises fundamental questions about how power is exercised at the highest levels of government. The presidency carries immense authority, particularly in matters of defense. With that authority comes an expectation of restraint and prioritization of the national interest above all else. Lawmakers involved in the process emphasize that their actions are intended not as punishment, but as protection of institutional norms that safeguard democracy and national security. As Washington watches closely, one thing is clear. This moment has already exposed deep fractures within the political system. Whether the resignation demand gains momentum or stalls, the debate it has sparked will reverberate far beyond the current crisis. What happens next may redefine the balance between political loyalty and constitutional responsibility for years to come.